Hello students, I am RG ma'am is with you to start the next chapter whose name is Pollution of Air and Water. So students, we will start today the lecture number 1 related to this chapter. So before starting this chapter, I want to make a short introduction about this chapter, that what is pollution and why our air and water is getting polluted day by day. Now we are just degrading our environment by ourselves. Why? Because we are only responsible, the human beings are only responsible for creating such kind of pollution in our environment. We are releasing a lot of amount of carbon dioxide, chlorofluorocarbons, methanes, that is also known as greenhouse gases in the atmosphere, and the atmosphere is getting polluted because of the presence of these kind of harmful gases which are released when we run any kind of vehicle. Because of the combustion of any kind of fuel, the carbon dioxide is produced in a very lot amount, and because of it the greenhouse effect is present in our environment. So students, the pollution is caused by us 90%, but it is also caused 10% by our nature as well. Because of the presence of allergens, because of the presence of wildfires or forest fires also, some amount of pollution is caused in the environment. Now, if we move on towards the pollution of water, then human beings are really responsible for creating such an environment that is very hazardous for the marine life. Why? Because we are throwing the plastic bags, polythenes, or we can say the tin cans which are non-biodegradable. The non-biodegradable things include like DDT, surfactants which are entering in our rivers, lakes, ponds, creating a eutrophication, or we can say the algal bloom, because of which the new plants cannot grow, even the aquatic life cannot survive properly. So water pollution is a major problem in our world. Both these types of pollution are disrupting our environment. The humans are catching different kind of diseases because of the presence of pollutants in our environment. So in this chapter, students, we are going to learn about this thing, that how the pollution of the air and water is caused. In this lecture, we will learn only about pollution of air, but in the second lecture, we are going to learn about the pollution of water that is caused in the environment because of us. Okay, students. Now, if I want to make you introduce about pollution of air, it is a drastic problem. Okay, now why it is so? Because of the presence of harmful gases which are created in the environment, because of the use of vehicles, combustion of fuels, forest fires, or any kind of fire which we put on, or we are releasing the chlorofluorocarbons in the atmosphere by using the air conditions and the refrigerators, which is depleting the ozone day by day. The ozone layer is getting depleted day by day, and because of it, what is happening? The greenhouse effect, or we can say the global warming. The major cause of global warming is the greenhouse gases. Okay, now because of the presence of global warming, what is happening? The glaciers are getting melted day by day. Even we can say the atmosphere of the earth is increasing, and because of its increase, what is happening? The natural life, the wildlife is getting disrupted. Even the human beings are also catching different kind of problems related to skin, related to breathing or respiratory procedure. So students, we are going to learn about many more things related to pollution in this chapter. So let us see the contents of today's lecture. So the content of today's lecture is introduction about pollution, and second is types of pollution. Okay, in types of pollution, we are going to talk about only the air pollution in this lecture, but in the next lecture, we are going to talk about the water pollution as well. Okay, now firstly, I want to introduce you all to this chapter so that you can read it briefly and you can analyze it, solve the module completely. So students, first point is pollution is an undesirable change in physical, chemical or biological characteristics of air, water and land that may be harmful to human life and other animals. living conditions, industrial processes, and cultural assets. So if we see here in the definition of pollution, students, we can see that we are creating an undesirable change. Why? We are just changing our environment by chemical means, by biological or by physical means. So if there is a change in physical, biological or chemical composition of the environment, then we call it as pollution. Okay. Now next point, pollution can be man-made and natural due to volcanic eruptions, emission of natural gas, soil erosion, UV radiation, cosmic rays, dust storms, etc. So what may be the causes of pollution? Actually, pollution can be caused by natural way, even it can be caused by man-made. Okay, now what are the reasons of pollution? So it has been mentioned over here. First one is the volcanic eruption, second one emission of natural gas, third one is soil erosion, fourth UV radiation, fifth cosmic rays, and the last one is dust storms. Okay. Now, natural pollution is caused by all these things. If we talk about man-made pollution, students, then burning of fossil fuels, as I told you that we are just combusting the petrol or diesel, that is producing a lot of amount of carbon dioxide in our environment. Next, deforestation. We are just rapidly cutting down the trees on a drastic or a large scale to make the urbanization possible, but we are not thinking this thing that trees are necessary for our environment to grab all the carbon dioxide which is present in our environment. Okay. Now next is mining. Sewage. The sewage is a major cause of pollution because sewage, if not properly treated, can cause different kinds of diseases. Even the mosquitoes which are around the sewage area can cause malaria, typhoid, these kind of diseases in human beings which are even hazardous. Next, industrial effluents. Now industrial effluents can cause the bronchitis, asthma, or we can say emphysema in particular human beings which are living in the industrial regions. Next, use of fertilizers and pesticides. This is a major problem in our environment. Why? Because to make the population feed, large scale is provided to the farmers for farming, and large scale production of the vegetables and fruits are there, and because of it the farmers use different kind of fertilizers and pesticide to increase the production scale, and because of this what is happening, students, we are consuming those fertilizers which are harmful to our body. They can damage our digestive system and even they can attack on our nervous system as well. So these kind of pollution which are caused by man-made are really hazardous to man itself. Okay. Now next point, the unfavorable condition are created by man himself have the threatened survival not only other living organism but also of man itself. As I told you before also, if we are harming our environment, we are harming ourselves even. Okay, if we are causing any kind of damage to our environment, like if we are producing a lot of amount of industrial effluents, we are doing deforestation or combustion of fuels are in excess amount, then we are harming ourselves, because in back we are getting all these harmful gases in our lungs, and if one's lungs get damaged, then there will be a greater problem for a person to survive. Okay. Now next point, air has become foul, water are no longer clean, and forests are being cut down unscrewably. So why air has become foul, students? Because we are polluting our air. We are releasing a lot of amount of industrial effluents, and through combustion lot of amount of carbon dioxide is released in the air. Even the chlorofluorocarbon is entering in the atmosphere because of the use of refrigerators and air conditioners. So this will be very hazardous for the environment. Okay. Now we are doing the deforestation. Actually, when we do deforestation, it does not play a greater role, but after some time what will happen in that area, the amount of oxygen will be decreased. Why? Because we have cutted down those trees which were producing a lot of amount of oxygen for the persons to survive in that area. So deforestation is a major cause of the pollution as well. If it continues, air and water would become unfit for the use of living beings. So if we are polluting the air and water continuously and there is no filtration of it, then what will happen? We are just polluting ourselves. We are using the polluted water and we are harming ourselves. Okay. Let us first try and understand what the term pollution means. So firstly, we are going to understand the term pollution. Okay, students. So this is the definition of pollution. You can write it in your notebooks and you can write this definition in your examinations as well. Okay. So pollution is a process by which certain unwanted substances get introduced into the environment and cause undesirable changes in it, so as to render it unfit for a large number of activities including living. So what is pollution, students? Actually it is a process in which the unwanted substances enters inside the atmosphere, harming the natural things also and even the human beings like us also. Okay. In other words, there is a gradual build up of harmful substances in our environment that renders it increasingly unfit to support life. Okay. So what will happen after some time? Gradually the things will get decreased, get depleted from our environment, and this will make the unsustainable environment for the human beings and animals. Okay. Now we are going to talk about the pollutants. What are pollutants? So the agent that pollute our environment are called as what? Pollutants. So any kind of agent which is polluting our environment is known as what? Pollutant. Okay. These include substance, chemicals or factors like heat and even noise. So these are the kind of pollutants. Like chemicals, actually if we are using a lot of amount of chemicals in our homes as well, or we can say in any kind of field, like if we are using many fertilizers in the crop field, so what happens? The fertilizers contain some amounts of chemicals and these chemical enters inside the lakes and ponds, destroying the marine life as well. And even we are also using the DDT or any kind of harmful chemical. If it enters inside the lakes, ponds or rivers, then it harms the aquatic life of that river. Okay. So if we talk about the substances that are pollutant, first we are going to talk about chemicals. Okay. Chemicals like DDT or factors like heat and noise. Actually heat and noise are not counted in a greater percentage for creating pollution, but if we talk about chemicals or if we talk about plastics which we are using, that is the non-biodegradable sources, then they are considered in a greater amount in a pollutants. Okay. So now next we are going to see this thing that pollutants can be categorized into two groups. So there are two groups for the pollutants. First is non-biodegradable pollutant. So if we talk about non-biodegradable pollutant, first thing that comes in the mind of a student is plastic. Okay. So non-biodegradable pollutant is plastic. Okay. If we talk about this thing, that is glass, cements. Okay. Next, if we want to take an example over here of non-biodegradable pollutant, then we can mention the tin can as well, tin can, or we can write it as metals. Metals are also non-biodegradable. Okay, and many more. Okay, poly bags also you can write over here. So these are what? Non-biodegradable pollutants. Now next type of pollutant is biodegradable pollutant. Everything which we eat and consume are considered under biodegradable pollutant, like the peel of potatoes, peel of onion, or we can say, you can see that a person has eaten the apple and just thrown inside the dustbin. So this is considered in the biodegradable pollutant. Why? Because when they enters inside the soil, they do not disrupt the soil, and even they get converted into the soil after few days. Okay, they get decomposed very easily. But if we talk about non-biodegradable pollutants, students, they do not get decomposed very easily, and even we can say that they do not get decomposed even after so many years, 100 years as well. So they are polluting the environment, they are just causing the soil erosion as well. If we talk about plastics or poly bags, they get inserted inside the soil and the water does not seep inside the soil, so a plant cannot grow. So they are causing the infertility of the soil as well. Okay, so if we talk about biodegradable pollutant, then we can show some of the examples like peel of onion, potato. We can say it's cotton. Cotton is a plant, okay, from which we can make clothes. So clothes are also considered as biodegradable. Okay, fruits, fruit peel. Okay, any kind of compost. So they are also useful for making the compost. Actually, the fruit peel, or we can say the peel of any kind of vegetables, are made in a slurry, and this slurry is then distributed in the field to increase the content of magnesium and potassium inside the plant. So they also play a greater role as well. Okay, now if we talk about non-biodegradable pollutants in brief, so we can see here, students, that the material which do not degrade or degrade extremely slowly in the natural environment are called as what? Non-biodegradable pollutants. So as I told you this thing, that non-biodegradable are those things which do not get degraded or destroyed in the environment by decomposers or by natural means. Okay, now non-biodegradable pollutants cannot be decomposed by microorganisms like bacteria present in the nature. Actually, what happens when we are throwing the plastic bags or polythene bags in the environment? The bacteria cannot act upon it, and if bacteria is not acting upon it, then it does not get destroyed or decomposed. Okay, so they remain as it is after many years as well. Next, DDT, plastic, polythene bags, insecticides, radioactive waste, metal, synthetic fibers are some examples of non-biodegradable pollutants. So put a star mark over here, and these are the greater examples of pollutants. Now I am going to talk about the DDT, whose full form is dichlorodiaphenyl trichloroethane. Okay, this is the full form of DDT. Okay, now DDT is sprayed on the roads. Okay, remember this thing, DDT is sprayed on roads for killing mosquitoes. It is sprayed on road for killing the mosquitoes. Okay, students. Now next is biodegradable pollutants. So what are biodegradable pollutants? So let's see this thing. The pollutant that get rapidly decomposed by natural processes by the action of microorganisms are known as what? Biodegradable pollutants. Okay, so what happens? These biodegradable pollutants are those pollutants which can be decomposed naturally in the environment by the decomposers. The small microorganisms like bacteria are present in our environment. So when they attack them, they decompose them completely and turns into the soil. Okay, examples of biodegradable pollutant are domestic waste products, that is garbage, urine, fecal matter, sewage, agricultural residues, paper, wood, cloth, cattle dung, animal bones, leather, tea leaves and wool. So these are the examples of the biodegradable pollutant. So please remember the example, they are very easy to learn. First is the waste product, that is the garbage which we are producing from our homes itself. Next is fecal matter, sewage, agricultural residues, paper, wood, cloth, cattle dung, animal bones, leather, tea leaves, and even wool. So we consider all the kind of cloth except the synthetic fibers under the category of biodegradable pollutant. And even the bio waste which has been generated from our homes are carried on to make slurry, and then they are useful for making the organic fertilizers. So biodegradable pollutants are not so much harmful for the environment, as it is sometimes useful also for the environment. Okay. Now students, we are going to see the types of pollution. So in this thing, I am going to tell you about the air pollution and the water pollution as well, but in this part we are going to discuss only about the air pollution. Okay. So these are two main types of pollution. First is air pollution and second one is water pollution. Okay. Now, what is air pollution? First, all living things need air for breathing. Plants need air for photosynthesis to make food for the entire living world. So what happens? The plant needs air, even the carbon dioxide which is present in the air, for making the food through the process of what? Photosynthesis. Okay. Air is also needed for burning. Thus, air is extremely important natural resource essential for life. Without air, there is no life. Why? Because air contains a lot of amount of gases like oxygen, like carbon dioxide, inert gases, hydrogen, nitrogen. Okay, so because of the presence of these gases, the atmosphere environment is balanced, and if there is a disruption between the amount of these gases, the percentage of these gases, then it will result in a harmful effect to the environment. Okay. As you are aware, air is a mixture of gases, mainly nitrogen, 78%. Remember this thing. Now students, next point is, as you are aware, air is a mixture of gases, mainly nitrogen, that is 78%, and oxygen, that is 21%. So mainly the gases which are present in our environment are considered as nitrogen and oxygen. So nitrogen is 78% and oxygen is 21% only. Okay. Now the small amount of carbon dioxide present in the air is crucial for photosynthesis. Okay, actually the amount of carbon dioxide which is present in our air is essential for the plants for performing the function of photosynthesis and for the preparation of food by the plants. Okay, air also contains small quantities of other gases as well as varying quantities of dust and water vapor. So air contains some kind of pollutants like dust and water vapors as well, but not in a larger amount. Actually, in a larger amount, the main gas which is present in the air is nitrogen and 21% is oxygen. And if we talk about the other things which are present in the air are considered as the carbon dioxide, the small quantities of water vapor and dust as well. And the next thing I want to tell you, that air contains inert gases also, that is helium, neon, argon, okay, and even hydrogen as well. Okay. Now student, this is the diagrammatic representation of the air in which the different kinds of gases are present in the air. So what are the different gases we can see here? So you can see here student that maximum amount of the air is covered by nitrogen, which is present as 78% in our atmosphere. Now if you see here that this blue colored part is marked by oxygen, which is 20.95%, that is considered as approximately 21% in our environment. Okay, now if you see here, the small traces of inert gases are also present in our environment, that is argon, which is 0.93%, xenon, which is 0.09%, neon, okay, helium, krypton, and carbon dioxide, which is essential for the photosynthesis of plant, is present only in amount 0.03%. Okay. Now hydrogen is also present in the environment. Okay students. So let us see first about the air pollution. What is air pollution? And we will talk about this thing in the upcoming slide as well, that how air pollution is caused, what are the major factors that causes air pollution, and how we can stop the air pollution as well. Okay, so the presence of chemicals in the atmosphere in undesirable quantities and duration harmful to human health and environment is known as air pollution. So some kind of chemicals which are present in the air and even the pollutants, the small particles which are present in the air harming the environment and us also, and they are present in undesirable quantities, means their quantity number can vary and their duration also can vary. The substance which contaminate the air are called as what? Air pollutants. So there are some substance which contaminate the air, so they are considered under the category of air pollutants, like a lot of amount of different kind of harmful gases like carbon dioxide, nitrous oxide, methane, chlorofluorocarbons, and solid contaminants like dust particles, gaseous contaminants, as I told you. Okay, so we are going to talk about this thing. Next point, major air pollutants. So the major air pollutants and their effects on the human health and the environment are as follows. Okay, so first major air pollutant is carbon monoxide. Okay, so carbon monoxide is a major air pollutant. Now why it is considered as a major air pollutant? Actually it is harming the human very seriously. Why? Because if it combines with our hemoglobin, then it can even stop the breath of a person. How? We are going to see this thing in this slide. So first is, it is a gas produced during incomplete burning of fuels like petrol, diesel, wood, kerosene and coal in many industries, automobiles, factories. It is a poisonous gas. So students, it is considered as poisonous gas. Why? Because if the fuels like coal, petrol, or we can say any kind of fuel that is burnt inside the factories, not in a completed way, like we can say this thing, that if a fuel is burnt incompletely, then we can say there is a incomplete combustion and a lot of amount of carbon monoxide is produced in our environment, which is harming us because it is a poisonous gas. Okay, when inhaled carbon monoxide combines with hemoglobin of the blood and blocks its oxygen binding capacity, it slows down our reflexes, which leads to death of a person. Okay, now let us see the second major air pollutant of the air, that is sulfur dioxide. Okay, sulfur dioxide is a gas produced by burning of petrol and coal. So when we burn petrol or coal, then sulfur dioxide gas is produced. For very best example, the use of vehicles. When we are burning the petrol, the combustion of the petrol takes place when we are riding any kind of bike or any kind of two-wheeler. So what happens? The lot of amount of sulfur dioxide is released in the form of pollutant. Okay, thermal power plants and petroleum refineries are major sources of sulfur dioxide. So what happens in thermal power plants also, or in petroleum refineries? Lot of amount of sulfur dioxide is produced. Next point, some industrial processes like extraction of metals and production of paper also produce sulfur dioxide. So these are the examples from where the sulfur dioxide can come from. Okay, extraction of metals and production of paper as well. Next, sulfur dioxide attacks the lungs and trachea and may cause respiratory disorders like bronchitis. Okay, so sulfur dioxide is very hazardous for the human health. They can cause bronchitis disease, which is related to the lungs, and if a person is not able to respire properly, then the death of a person may be caused. Sulfur dioxide dissolves in rainwater causing acid rain. Acid rain damages the monuments, aquatic life, trees, soil and metal work as well. Now what happens actually when sulfur dioxide is present? It combines with the water vapor which is present in the environment, forming the sulfurous acid, H2SO3. This is known as what? Sulfurous acid. And this sulfurous acid, when comes in our environment, it destroys major monuments, trees, aquatic life, soil and metal work as well. So this is very, very hazardous pollutant which is released by the combustion of the fuels. Okay, now students, we will learn about the third major air pollutant, that is nitrogen dioxide. Nitrogen dioxide has a molecular formula NO2. Till now we have read about the two major pollutants, that is carbon monoxide and also about sulfur dioxide. They are released in the atmosphere from different sources, and they are damaging our environment. They are creating a hazard to our environment. Even they are causing different kind of diseases like cancer, asthma, bronchitis, and even skin related dermatological diseases. So students, all these are counted in the major air pollutant because they are present in our atmosphere and harming the living beings, that is including plants even as animals. Okay, so now this is the third major air pollutant, which is nitrogen dioxide, having molecular formula NO2. So students, first point is nitrogen dioxide is gas mainly produced by burning of fuels like coal, diesel and petrol. So as I told you this thing, when the combustion of the fuels takes place, carbon dioxide is released, but along with it sulfur dioxide, even nitrogen dioxide is also released in a greater amount, which is polluting our environment because the particles of these gases diffuses in the environment, causing harm to our society. Now what kind of problems does nitrogen dioxide can create in human beings? So let us take a look over it. This gas can cause respiratory diseases. Now respiratory diseases are those diseases which are causing problems related to respiration and breathing in human beings. Okay, that includes asthma, bronchitis. So you can write the names of these diseases as well. Okay, this is asthma, bronchitis, etc. Okay students, now next point, on dissolving in rainwater it causes acid rain. Nitrogen dioxide in air contributes to the formation of smog. So what happens students, when nitrogen dioxide combines with the water vapor which is present in our atmosphere, it turns into nitric acid, and nitric acid can cause harm to the plants as well when it is present in acid rain. Actually acid rain is formed because of the presence of the harmful gases which are released in the atmosphere. Now what happens students, when nitrogen dioxide combines with water molecule, then it forms what? HNO3, and this is known as what? Nitric acid. Okay, now this nitric acid when falls on the earth's atmosphere, it destroys the plants. Okay, now what happens when it destroys the plant? The soil fertility get lost, the soil erosion can occur. So this is how the depletion of the resources are also taking place because of the human activities. We are releasing a lot of amount of these poisonous gases in the atmosphere, and we are suffering only from the different kind of problems which are coming because of the presence of these pollutants. Okay, now it can form the smoke as well. So we will talk on later on about the smoke formation in the next upcoming slides. Okay, now let us see the fourth major air pollutant, that is excessive carbon dioxide. Actually if carbon dioxide is present in the environment, it is not too harmful for a human being, but it is useful as well because the carbon dioxide is absorbed by the plants and they perform the function of photosynthesis. Now photosynthesis is performed by plants making their own food, okay, which is taken by us. But if carbon dioxide is present in excess amount in the atmosphere, then it can cause the global warming, that is the rise of the earth's atmosphere, rise of the temperature of the earth's atmosphere. Now carbon dioxide gas is present in air and is essential for photosynthesis. We know this thing very well, that carbon dioxide is present in lesser amount, that is in traces. If we say this thing, that is it is 0.03% only in our atmosphere, but nowadays we are seeing this thing that we are contributing to the deforestation. Now because of deforestation, the amount of carbon dioxide is increasing day by day, and because of it, what is happening students, the temperature of the earth is rising up. So but when it is present in excess, it acts as a pollutant. It is produced by burning of the fuels like coal, wood, diesel, petrol and natural gas. So as I told you this thing before also, when combustion of any kind of fuel takes place, students, the amount of carbon dioxide is produced. Now how it will be possible? Let us see this thing. So what happens, students? The combustion takes place. Now what is combustion? You know this thing very well. When any kind of hydrocarbon is getting combusted, okay, this is a hydrocarbon. We can take any kind of hydrocarbon like ethane, methane, propane, butane. Now in the presence of oxygen, what happens? It get combusted, forming what? Carbon dioxide and water vapors. Okay, now this carbon dioxide, when increases in amount, it increases the temperature of the Earth's atmosphere, causing the damage to the aquatic life as well. Okay, because the glaciers will get melted in excess amount, causing flooding in that area. Even the soil erosion can occur. Okay, so this is how the carbon dioxide is affecting our environment. Next point, carbon dioxide is greenhouse gas. It can trap the sun's heat. Large amount of carbon dioxide in atmosphere can cause the temperature of Earth to rise. So what is this? Actually, carbon dioxide is a greenhouse gas. Why we are using the word greenhouse gas? Because we are planting the trees under the glass house. Now they trap the solar energy and then reflect it, and some amount of carbon dioxide is absorbed by the plants for the function of photosynthesis. So it is counted under the greenhouse gas. Now it can trap the sun's heat. Okay, the UV radiations which are coming over the Earth's surface are trapped in only a trace amount and then reflected back. Okay, large amount of carbon dioxide in atmosphere can cause temperature of the Earth to rise. So what happens if the trapping is more? Why the trapping will be more? Because we are doing the deforestation. Now plants are not available in our environment to trap the solar energy. Okay, now what happens if the plants are not available there? Then what will happen? The temperature of the planet will rise because of the presence of UV rays. Okay, now this can lead to global warming, leading to melting of the polar ice caps, which may lead to floods in low-lying coastal areas. So it can lead to floods as well, because in low-lying areas what will happen, students? The increasing amount of temperature will cause the melting of the glaciers, and because of its melting, what will happen, students? The flood will be caused in the low-lying areas, affecting the life of the human beings, causing the soil erosion and many more things. So this is disrupting our environment. So this is the fourth major air pollutant, students. Okay, now students, fifth is ground level ozone. Okay, so what is ground level ozone actually? So if we are going to talk about ground level ozone, then let us see this thing. So ozone occurs naturally in a stratosphere layer of the atmosphere. It shields our earth from harmful ultraviolet rays of the sun. So what happens actually? Above the atmosphere, we can say the layers are present in the atmosphere, and in stratosphere the ozone layer is present, which protects us from the major ultraviolet rays which are striking on the Earth's surface. Okay, now what happens? This ozone prevents us from the ultraviolet rays which is coming. But what we are doing? We are producing a lot of amount of greenhouse gases like carbon dioxide, like methane, chlorofluorocarbons, that is freons, which is depleting the ozone layer. Now when the ozone layer is getting depleted day by day, the UV radiations are directly striking on the Earth's surface and increasing the temperature of the Earth's surface, causing the global warming. Okay, now but at the ground level it acts as an air pollutant. Ozone is produced by burning of fuels in vehicles and factories. Now if we see the ground level of the ozone, it is produced only by burning of the fuels and even the factory pollution. Next, ground level ozone has many toxic effects. Actually, ozone is not a beneficial gas for us. It is only beneficial when it is present in the stratosphere layer. But if we talk about ground level, then ozone is a very toxic and hazardous gas. Okay, when inhaled, ozone can cause coughing and wheezing irritation in eyes. Okay, now if some people, or if we talk about any human being, if they inhale ozone, then what happens? The coughing may occur and even irritation in eyes may occur. Nose damage to protective membranes of throat and nose, lowering of working capacity of the lungs, lowering of body's resistance to fight the infection. So it can cause the ENT problems in a human beings. The nose part, or we can say ear part, can get damaged. The lung part is totally disrupted by the presence of this hazardous gas. So this is also a major air pollutant if it is present at a ground level. Okay. Now we are going to talk about 6 type of major air pollutant, which is known as what? Chlorofluorocarbons. Now what is chlorofluorocarbons, students? It is written in a short abbreviated form as CFCs. Chlorofluorocarbon are gases which are released from air conditioners, refrigerators, aerosols, sprays. Chlorofluorocarbon, on being released into air, rise to the stratosphere, upper layer of the atmosphere, where they come in contact with other gases and damage the ozone layer. Now what happens, students? I want to make you this thing clarify here. This is the ozone layer. Okay, consider it as a ozone layer. Now what will happen? We are releasing a lot of amount of gases in the atmosphere, like CFCs, okay, CO2, NO2. Okay, now these all gases are hazardous. Now chlorofluorocarbon, when get combined with different kind of gases, it destroys the ozone layer. Now what will happen? After some time, the ozone layer will get depleted. Okay, now when the ozone layer will get depleted, we can see here that the UV radiations which are striking on the earth's surface can fall directly on the earth's surface because the ozone layer is not present to protect it. Okay, so this is how it is causing the damage. Now this allows harmful ultraviolet rays to reach the earth's surface. So this is how you can see this thing, that ultraviolet radiations are reaching the earth's surface directly. Why? Because the ozone layer is getting depleted day by day because of the release of such type of poisonous gases like chlorofluorocarbons, nitrogen dioxide, carbon monoxide, sulfur dioxide, carbon dioxide. Okay, now what will be the problems which can be caused because of the depletion of the ozone layer? So this can lead to skin cancer, disease of eyes, and can even cause damage to the plant. So it can cause skin cancer as well, because the directly UV rays which are falling on a person can destroy the melanin pigment which is present on the skin surface of a person. Next, if we talk about the disease of eyes, actually what happens when the UV rays are struck on our eyes, it can destroy the rods and cones portion which is present in our eyes. Next, it can cause damage to the plants as well. Actually, when UV rays falls directly on the plants, it can damage whole parts of the plants, causing the infertility in the plants and even the infertility of the soil as well. So you can see how much damage can be caused by these kind of major air pollutants. Okay, students. Now we are going to talk about the 7th type of major air pollutant, which is known as what? Suspended particulate matter. In short, we know this thing as SPM. Okay. Now, in addition to above pollutants, air may also contain tiny solid particles like that of lime dust, fly ash and smoke. Actually, when we run industries, some kind of particulate matter is released in the atmosphere in very large quantities, and they are very small in size. That is, we can say they are very nanoparticles which are present in the atmosphere. Okay, these particles remain suspended in air for longer periods of time and are called as suspended particulate matter. So what happens? They remain in the atmosphere for very longer period of the time and are known as what? SPM, suspended particulate matter. They do not get depleted from the atmosphere easily. They remain for a longer time in the atmosphere. Sources of SPM include burning of coal in thermal power plants, vehicular emissions, dust storms, open field mining. So these are the sources from where the suspended particulate matter is released. Burning of coal releases large quantities of smoke and minute ash particles called as fly ash. So we can see this thing, that if we talk about ancient timing, the railways, that is the trains were run by coal. Now when the coal is burned, what happens? A lot of amount of fly ash is produced, which is released in the atmosphere in the form of suspended particulate matter, and it does not get depleted by itself. So what happens? A lot of amount of pollution of air is caused because of the presence of SPM. Okay, now some of the effects of SPM are as follows. So let us talk about the effects which are caused by SPM. So first is SPM may cause haze, which reduces visibility. So what happens? It reduces visibility. Why? Because if these type of nanoparticles are striking on our eyes, they can cause visibility disorder in a human being. It can cause irritation in nose, throat, eyes and respiratory tract. So when these small particle enters inside our nose, our eyes, our respiratory tract, so they can block the areas from where some enzymes are secreted, and they can cause damage to the big portions of a human being. It can cause damage lungs and can lead to various respiratory problems like bronchitis and asthma. So these kind of problems can also be generated because of the presence of SPM. Okay, smoke present in air blackens our clothes and also buildings. So you have seen this thing. If you go to the industrial area and you sit there for 1 to 2 hours also, and you come to your home, then you can see your clothes become dirty. Okay, why they have become dirty? Because of the presence of SPM around you, which has been released by the factory. Next, fly ash present in air may even interfere with the process of photosynthesis. Actually, what happens when there is a stomatal closing and opening in the leaves, then if SPM enters inside it, it can block that process and even the photosynthesis get restricted. So this is because of SPM that plants can also lose their fertility, and even the death of some plants can be caused. So if there are factories, then nearby some plants should not be planted, and if they are planting the trees, they should take care of this thing, that the fly ash which is released in the atmosphere should be depleted away. Okay, now students, we are going to see a very short video which is related to air pollution. Now we have read about air pollution, that how it is damaging our environment. We are seeing this thing clearly, that how it is causing the damage to our internal organs like our eyes, our skin, our lungs, and even it is causing damage to the plants as well. Plants are also getting very damaged because of the presence of suspended particulate matter, and if they are not supplied with the proper carbon dioxide, then also the death of the plants can be caused. Now we have seen many ways that how air pollution can be caused in our environment, and what are the methods through which we can prevent the air pollution. In the next lecture, we will talk about this thing, that how the air pollution can be prevented. But in this lecture, students, we are going to see this thing, that how we are planting the trees, how we are causing the air pollution by causing the deforestation. Now first is, if we talk about that plants are useful for releasing a lot of amount of oxygen in our environment, but if we are cutting down the trees on a rapid scale, then what will happen? The large amount of carbon dioxide will be there in our atmosphere, and if it is there, then it will be the reason for causing the global warming in our atmosphere. Next, if we are burning the fuels on a larger amount, as I told you about coal, then coal is used in trains, okay, in railway purposes. Now if coal is combusted, then a lot of amount of carbon dioxide is released, and even the suspended particulate matter is released, causing the problems related to lungs and even eyes. Now nextly, we are going to talk about factories. So if we talk about factories, students, a lot of amount of fly ash is generated from there, and this fly ash can cause damage to our eyes, our lungs, and even it can cause many problems related to our skin. So you can see here, due to cutting of trees, burning of wood, burning of fossil fuels, and smoke released from factories and industries, and even smoke released from vehicles, our air is getting polluted day by day. Okay students, Now student, this is a very small assignment number 1 for you all. So please solve the exercises, do your analysis, and if you face any kind of difficulty, then watch the video to solve the module. In the last lecture, we will discuss the module as well. Okay students, so give me the permission to leave students. Thank you.